This is the Leo Climaco podcast.
When did you realize that you had the eye to notice white spaces?
Everybody has the eye for noticing white spaces. Everybody knows what the gap is. It's the
But you
ability,
chose to interact with it, right?
Yeah, I've always been a curious person, which also I think makes me a great coach, is because I'm a very curious person. I'm interested in what's happening. I'm
Right.
interested in the. You can call it the secret sauce. You can call it the white space.
The
You can call it
know-how.
what makes somebody tick.
Right.
I'm just interested, and that's really what it is. And it's not that yes I had it, but it's also something that I nurture. Right? You can nurture interest or being interested as a
Right.
person, right? Being curious as a person. It's just an act of asking questions and being interested in the answer and staying curious and present to it. And so that's the first thing. Notice white spaces. The second thing is always look for a higher value skill and learn it. Right? Most people would take a degree and that's what they want to do for the rest of their life. Well, guess what? You become a specialist, and yes, specialists get paid a little bit, but specialists, the way specialists get paid a little bit more, or the ones who get really, really well paid, is maybe 10% of specialists or 15%, because they become the top of the industry. They become kind of the consultants or the standard bearers of the industry.
Right.
85% are just specialists that they can be traded with any other specialist. They're not actually.
They don't stand out.
They won't stand out,
Yeah.
right? But the people who get paid more is who take the specialization but then keep upskilling themselves in soft skills.
Keep evolving.
Yeah, in soft skills. Like, all right, I already know how to code. I'm going to stack on AI. Or I'm going to stack on how to work with people. I'm going to stack on being a better leader, better communicator, make great presentations,
Yes.
be charismatic, communicate, be able to present an idea, express a vision, write a vision statement. All of these things which sound like, well, this is very so in the air. The more in the air, more soft these skills are, the more valuable you become, because
sure.
guess what is needed after a point? A team leader, a manager, a CEO, a CTO, a CMO. Those are all soft skills. Most people don't look at those skills and don't practice those, don't learn those skills. They think, I've done my college education, I read the books then, I don't need to
Right.
do anything now. That's not how this works. You are an ever-evolving learning environment. So I went from intern to CEO. What you may not know is in those 6 years, I played every role that a person can play in a company. I was an intern, then I was a project manager. Then from a project manager, I became a business manager. From a business manager, I became a CTO of the company. From CTO which is completely different, right?
Right.
From CTO, I became the launch manager or the overall launch manager of the company. I became the CMO of the company. I even collaborated with the CFO of the company to really organize our finances of the company. I played along with the CHRO of the company to get the team in order. I was somebody who actually was kind of playing operations role in the company. And then literally when the company said we need a CEO, there was nobody else who was more qualified than I was. Hell, I was playing CEO before I was CEO,
Right.
right?
You were
I was-
already the CEO
Yeah,
before
anybody
they
in
even
the
asked
team.
you.
Yeah. Anybody on the team, they're like, if Ajit says yes, it's a yes, because he just knows everything. He knows how this comes together. He knows how to pitch it. He knows how to sell it. He knows how it impacts the business. He knows everything. So not because I was just data gathering, it's because I had done all the roles, because I was upskilling myself every single time. So more upskilling you do, the faster you grow. Right? Now, I was in a smaller container because this company
Yeah.
was still small. 40 million is not a big company. But 35 million when I became the CEO, it was maybe 32 or whatever, something like that. So it's not a big company. It's just 100 employees. So you can stand out much easily in 100 employees. But even a large company, if you keep upskilling, you're standing out more and more because you're one person that people can go, I can ask that guy. He knows all the answers because he understands everything. Right? He has done the roles. He has upskilled himself. He knows how to communicate. He knows how things come together. Right? So that's the second thing. Keep upskilling. Don't stop. The more upskilling you do, the faster your income goes within the frame of an organization and how you go from intern to CEO. And lastly is the thing that people don't practice enough. It's negotiation. You need to know how to negotiate. Negotiate for everything. You can negotiate for your salary. You can negotiate for your title. You can negotiate between team members. You can negotiate for whatever needs to happen, what doesn't need to happen. You can negotiate deals. You need to learn how to negotiate. Negotiation is one of those undervalued, under-trained skill that probably will yield at least a 10% increase in your income every single time you get better at it.
Wow.
So every year or every 2 years, you can increase income by 10% just by negotiating. Or you can save money just by negotiating, especially in America. Because nobody negotiates here.
Most are so
Negotiation
scared.
is
Yeah.
so great here because nobody knows how to deal with it. So if you learn a little bit of negotiation, you go a really long way.
People are so scared of it.
Yeah. People won't even ask. And I tell this story. It's kind of a quick, funny story. Is in when we first moved to U.S., my wife is American, and we moved to U.S. and we moved because we wanted to have a child, and we decided that's the place we want to have our kids. And so we move here. My wife decides she wants to do home birth. She's doing the home birth, 40 hours of labor at this point, and we're like, she's exhausted and tired. We're like, let's go to the hospital. You're real tired. She's like, yes, let's do some epidural. Let's get the baby out. I'm exhausted at this point. So we go to the hospital. We are at the hospital. We have the baby, but of course we were not planning to go to the hospital. So we didn't tell our insurance. We didn't check where we need to go. All that fun stuff. So about
All
7
that
days
fun
later,
stuff.
all that fun stuff, the things that we should have cared for, we just didn't. And 7 days later, we get this bill of $20,000.
Oh my!
And $20,000 for having a baby for one night. Like we were there for maybe one night.
Yeah,
just one night, right? And so I go, babe, like America is expensive, man. Like $20,000 to have a baby in Compton, because that was where our doctor was, and that's where we could go at that time. It was like Compton is not even like place where people can afford 20 grand.
Right.
How is anybody doing this? This is insane. That's why America is in debt.
Yes.
And she says, hold on. She calls the hospital. She says, I got this bill. Is this for real? They're like, yes. Like, I'm not paying it. I don't have the money. And they go, well, you got to pay it. That's your bill. Like, no, I'm not paying it. They go, how much are you willing to pay? And she goes, well, I'm going to pay you $2,000. She's like, no, our bill is 20 grand. We can't give you for $2,000. She's like, oh, that's all I got. So they go, well, what about 18? Like, no. 15? No. 13? No. 10? No. 8? No. 5? No. They finally settled for $2,500.
Wow.
So $20,000 bill got negotiated down to $2,500.
Just by making a phone call.
Just a 30-minute phone call. It wasn't even like for 3 hours she was on the call. No, it was 30 minutes.
Wow.
You can negotiate anything. And then, and you can do that anywhere, like really. Like you just have to open your mouth, speak your truth, and know what you want, and you will most likely get it, because nobody negotiates here. But if you learn how to negotiate, 10, 15%, you will just make extra just because you negotiated.
What a nugget. What a gem.
And in companies, people don't do it. People don't negotiate their salaries. Yeah.
Everyone lives in their little frame, in their little box. And as you're talking, all I can think about is how an outside-the-box thinker you are. When it was clear that that's since birth, right? Did your dad being an entrepreneur have anything to do with you thinking outside the box? Or was it just the fact that maybe being in a house with 23 people, you had to think outside the box in order to have some space, have some freedom, have some air? You are such an outside the box thinker that there are no frames for you. It's very, very unique.
Thank you. And I don't know if I was born that way, but I definitely have. I think I was born interested. I think that's what I would say. I think outside the box thinking is maybe too big, because not in everything in life I'm not an outside the box thinker. It's not a default setting for me.
Right.
I think it's more because when I'm so interested in things that it makes me curious, and because of that I study like a maniac. I read 50 books a year, and I take 2-3 programs any given year.
50 books a year.
Oh, easily. Sometimes more.
Wow.
I mean, I don't really read them anymore. I just listen to them. But
Same.
I am consuming insight, and I'm not just consuming. I'm actually listening. So it's not just like passively playing on the background, and I'm washing dishes. No, I'm actually consuming it in an active form. For me, it is movement. So I walk when I'm listening.
Okay.
And that makes it more palatable in my brain and my mind. So that's kind of how I consume information, but it's more because of curiosity. And now I also interact with thousands of coaches every year, so that allows me to get a lot more insight in anything, really.
Yeah.
But I think it's more about interest. And the only thing that my father did by being an entrepreneur is to tell me not to be one, because that was his story, right? His truth was entrepreneurship is not fun, because they were not able to be abundant with it. He was like, it's torturous. It's not a great career to have. Go get a job. That's much better. I think being interested is something that I probably got from my father and my grandfather. They were very interested people. And I know that for sure because they constantly challenged anything that anybody said, like constantly. They were like, somebody says something about religion, they will go, well, why? Prove it to me. Let's talk
Right.
about it. Let's debate it. So they're interested people, and so I'm an interested person because of that.